Welcome to the Share Your Rice podcast, where every person has an untold story to tell. I'm Katie.
I'm Bree. Join us as we explore the inspiring stories of individuals from all walks of life, uncovering the challenges they've overcome and the victories they've achieved.
Get ready to be inspired, motivated, and empowered to share your own rice.
Hello, and thank you for joining us today for another episode of the Share Your Rice podcast. Today we have Cheryl O'Hearn with
thank
us.
you.
Absolutely.
Yes.
She's so thank you for having us here in your studio.
We're great to be able to have you here and visit us in Fort Dodge and actually record in our studio.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's incredible to be here, Cheryl. And we, out of all the places, we're here in Fort Dodge, Iowa, about 6+ inches of snow, and we've made it.
Yes.
So thank you so much. It's a beautiful studio.
Thank you. We're very proud of our podcast studio and how well it's done.
So Cheryl, as you know, the Share Your Rice podcast is all about inviting others in to share their stories and share their rise so that other people can see your messages and hope to be inspired by your stories. Tell us hello.
Okay. Well, I am Cheryl O'Hearn, and yes, I have quite a history of exciting and very unique experiences over the years. But since 2012, we've had Spin Markket plus Digital and have grown. Started out, was in the corporate world. Kids are done with college. What am I going to do? Am I going to stay in the corporate world? And I have worked with small businesses for years and years and know that they need help marketing. They just don't know what to do and how to put everything together. So I took the plunge and in a one little room office started Spin Market. And here we are today. Yeah,
Amazing.
On it. So it's exciting. Always happy to be able to work with small and medium businesses and help them grow.
Well, I love that. And one of the things that we do want to do is kind of go a little bit more to the beginning, as in your roots.
Okay.
And kind of talk about how Cheryl became Cheryl sitting in this chair today.
Well, it started on the farm. And when it was my dad milked cows.
Uh-huh.
So you had morning and afternoon cows. You never went anywhere because you had cows.
So was that right here in the Fort Dodge, Iowa area?
It was by Thor, Iowa, the metropolis of Thor, in not too far from Humboldt and Eagle Grove for those people that know the geographic area here. So on a farm, and grew up there. When you're on the farm and your parents that's their livelihood is farming, you just don't go very many places. So you learn to entertain yourself. We had horses. We went riding every day. That was the great, be able to get physically off the farm and ride your horse down the road, and didn't really have any scenery or anything because it was all farm fields. But that was what you did. And you found things to do for yourself. You were outside playing and learning how to be creative on your own.
Right. I love that. I love getting that idea of that particular environment that you grew up in. Us even driving from Johnston here to Fort Dodge, we were starting to see the heart of the Midland, the heart
Absolutely.
of Iowa. And that's one of the things we kind of want to get a little bit more idea of your environment. And who did you grow up with? You talked about your mom and dad. Did you have siblings?
Yes, 3. I was the oldest, and family was everybody was the ones that you saw.
Yeah.
So one of those memories, would you say that's like one of your core memories or is there something else that you think that you were in your youth and you said, I want to go this direction, that kind of tied into where you are today?
Well, I really feel that a lot of the things, the fact that you had to entertain yourself.
Yeah.
That creativity.
The creativity.
Had to be creative
yes.
on the farm.
You had to be creative on the farm because mom and dad weren't going to come up with the games for you to play or whatever you were going to do. You had to come up with that. And you were with the farm. We had rabbits, we had cats, we had dogs, we had horses. You had all those animals that you had to take care of besides. You had duties, you had things that you had to do. And they had to be done every day. It wasn't something where you just picked and choose. But at the same time, you learned to entertain yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah. To Bree's point, that's your creativity, that you're bringing into Spin Market plus digital. How do you think that shaped your worldview? I mean, here you are still in Fort Dodge. You kind of grew up not too far from here.
I have traveled quite a bit, mostly in with the companies that I've worked for and that type of thing. But yeah, I stayed pretty much in this area. Again, family's very important. Tom, my husband, has 7 brothers and sisters, good Catholic family that they were. And so again, when I say in the immediate family, when I say that there was 100 people at one time in the immediate family, I am not exaggerating at all.
I bet you
So
have some
fun.
amazing memories with
Oh.
your cousins and your...
There's quite the stories there.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Can you think of like one core memory story that you have that you can share with us?
I can. I don't know that I should, but I do remember, and I'm going to abbreviate this considerably because we were at a celebration for Helen, my mother-in-law's birthday, and I think it was her 90th. And as I said, 100 was the immediate family.
Uh-huh.
Well, there was more than 100, I swear, at the restaurant, and they were taking pictures, and she made me laugh so hard because I was standing right beside her, and in the comment she made was just hilarious. It was true Helen, and I'll never forget that.
Oh my gosh.
I love
that's
that.
amazing. Thank you for sharing that. So Cheryl, those roots truly helped define who you are and who you are today as a businesswoman and the leader. Absolutely.
So the next thing we want to talk about, Cheryl, is your education path. So were you in obviously small town schools? Is that how that looked for? Tell us more.
Yes, my kindergarten was in a one-room schoolhouse
Oh, amazing. How
on
fun.
there. I still remember I was so short I couldn't get to the sink
I love
on there.
So that being said, did you have any mentors, like special teachers you remembered? Family members, mentors? When do you feel like you started to kind of look at others and say, that's what I want to do?
I would say actually it was more when I graduated from high school and started working really on there, just because it was a different world when I was going to school, especially in a rural community. You had more segregation. You had your city, or as they would consider themselves, city.
Yeah.
And then you had the people that lived in the country. And there was some, feeling that the city people were more superior to the people that lived on the farm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about that. Like you were the country kid, right?
The country kid, yes,
And
exactly.
so you didn't really intermix or mingle
No.
with those city kids at all?
I did because that's my personality, but some of them did not, just because on there, one thing that I didn't bring up before is we actually on Saturday night, the big thrill was going to the rodeo,
Yeah.
where we rode bareback
Oh my
on
God.
barrels and all kinds of things like that. So again, finding your own entertainment and going, those are the educational things that I feel were much more influential in my life than necessarily school itself.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely. Those fun times for sure. You felt like some of those defining moments for you kind of started after high school.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about what your first job entailed.
My first job, actually, I was still in school, but was Messerly's Inn, which was in Badger, Iowa, and it was a very popular little restaurant, and I was a waitress.
Oh, fun.
And that was my first job.
Good old food and beverage.
Good
I
old,
love that.
and in my world, I think everybody needs to be a waiter or something like that and learn customer service.
I would have to agree with that because of the work ethic.
It is.
It really makes you,
When you're surviving on tips,
mm-hmm.
Well, you're getting a chance to socialize,
Yes.
meet different types of people. So what did you love about waitressing?
just like you said,
Yeah.
meeting different people, having the same ones coming in week after week and ordering the same food. I still remember one guy always had to have French dressing on his cottage cheese.
Yeah.
And the
Quite
fact that
quite
you
the
the fact that you even remembered that,
Yes.
they appreciated that.
Right. And you were giving that specific thing to that specific person and remembering that. And it's kind of a little bit about what you do here in Spin Market plus Digital,
Absolutely.
because you have to cater to each individual.
Yes, each individual business, they all have their own story, which is exactly what you're doing here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's so true.
I would say that one of the first jobs that, well, the waitressing, I still remember Wilford Messerly, gruff old guy, hard to work for. Some people would say he was hard to work for. I didn't find him hard to work for. I just know you just learned what he liked and what he didn't like. And you learned to do what Wilford wanted you to do. And I think that was very, very important in understanding any kind of other job going forward. On there.
Right.
As well as even in today when we're working with our clients, understanding what makes them tick.
Yep.
Because we need to get them to understand what they need to do, but how do we educate them on it?
Yeah, you have to find the balance between that customer service, the individualization between you and your customers, and making sure they understand what they're doing. And we certainly have appreciated, all of the coaching that you've done with us.
Yeah,
As
exactly.
we're figuring things out as well, you and your team.
Yep, thank you. And that's exactly right. We need you have to learn your client in more ways than just their business. You need to learn their personality and understand what makes them tick and why they say what they say or why they do what they do.
Yeah. So tell us more about that. Like, what specific obstacle? Was there something that you faced that it's like, I'm going to crumble or I'm going to climb through this and have resilience?
Well, again, in that time when I was just getting into working on a full-time basis, it was totally different. Women were expected mostly to be a teacher, a nurse, or a receptionist or whatever. And that was all you could inspire for, basically. I got a job at Beneficial, and I'll never forget Darwin Hammer. And I'm sure many of the people in this area remember Darwin very, very well because he was a very well-known banker. And Bill Biggins from Webster City. And those two while I was at Beneficial had faith in me that even though I started out in the reception at the very front desk collecting money from people, Darwin promoted me to assistant manager within just a few months. And I still remember when I walked out of his office, Susie, who was the regional manager's admin, looked at me and said, if what just happened is what I think just happened, there has never been a woman that Darwin Hammer has ever promoted past the front counter.
That's amazing.
Goosebumps.
So
Goosebumps
exactly.
moment. So
And I'll never
wow.
forget that because she, you could just see when I walked, and I didn't think anything of it.
So Darwin really believed in you. He saw something in you.
Yeah, on there.
So what do you feel like he saw in you? Looking back now, what do you think made you different or unique in his eyes?
Just that I was able to walk into a situation and not have to have a lot of instruction. Basically, okay, here is this, figure it out and get it done. And then that goes back to what I had to do when I was young.
Farm.
On the farm.
Yeah.
You didn't have anybody to instruct you. It was put in front of you and you need to figure out how to get it done. And I really think that's it. Just hard work, dependable, knew that if there was something that had to be done, it got done. If there was an issue on something, I didn't come crying to somebody about it. I figured it out and took care of it, whether it was good or bad. I may have made a mistake, but at least I went and made an attempt to get it fixed.
That's it. I mean, you tried your best, right?
And took instruction from him and didn't take it as being demeaning in any way, even when he was very gruff about it.
Yeah.
That was his personality. Again, it wasn't.
So you really had to adapt to where he was. So do you ever remember a time that something happened, there was some sort of challenge that he threw at you that you just really had a hard time figuring out?
Yeah. Now you're promoted, right? Now you're promoted. You're not in the desk anymore. So now you're getting things that are more challenging.
The things that were probably more challenging were internally the other men
Okay.
in there. in the fact.
Just trying to like be yourself and show your own professionalism and your own skill set in front of them, or tell us more about that.
No, in the regards to, even though my job duties were exactly the same as theirs, they still expected me. I remember one gentleman always expected me, Cheryl, this UCC needs to be filed.
Yeah.
Cheryl, I need this typed.
Yeah. You were treated differently.
Yeah, that was his idea, was that I was supposed to do that, where in my situation, where same job as him, same job description.
Yeah, you're not
I
a
hope it was the
secretary.
same pay.
Right.
I don't even know,
Yeah.
but whatever that is. And I had to file my own UCC filings on a loan or whatever it may be.
So how did you kind of work through that when they treated you differently?
I got up to the point where I just said, I have to do my own. You can do yours.
Yeah.
Well, I
Spoke
don't know.
up for
I don't know
yourself.
how. I'll show you.
Yeah. You were advocating for yourself because no one else was going to do it.
No,
for
nobody
you.
else was going to advocate.
Yep.
No.
To be a young woman in a situation like that, that's amazing. How empowering of a moment for you to just finally stand up for yourself and let them know.
And you had to.
Absolutely.
I still remember, the gentleman, I know his name, and he walked in and he asked for a loan officer, and the person up front said, Cheryl, can you help? And I got up there to the desk. I said, hey, yeah, great. Let's go. We'll go in here and we'll sit and visit. And he just looked at me and he goes, you're a woman.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
What year? Can we get an idea? Like, what year are we talking? We're in 2026 now, and some of us women still
late
face
70s.
this. Late 70s.
Early 80s.
Early 80s.
Yeah.
That's when my mama was working and putting on dress suits and high heels and dealing with men. It has not been that long.
It's totally different. Yes. On there. And yeah.
Well, I mean, that being said, what I'm hearing is a couple different moments that you definitely felt, and you started to get your empowerment, you started to get your voice, you started to think, okay, I'm going on the career path of a businesswoman, from a waitress to a secretary to now I'm one of the guys. So what was another moment? There had to be something there that then just kind of skyrocketed you. I mean, how did you become an entrepreneur, a marketing and advertising, saying, I'm going to do my own thing now?
Well, actually, I had several corporate jobs after that. It was in the 80s. Interest rates went sky high. Beneficial sold to Northwest, and they closed up all the offices in Iowa. I was offered the opportunity to go to Overland Park, but of course, I was married, had kids. That wasn't going to happen. And so I decided to do some freelance work, because it was a time when even jobs were hard to find, when the interest rates were really high in that time of the economy that we were in. And so I did a lot of work for attorneys, trust attorneys.
Okay.
And they liked me to go in because I understood the bank. I understood the financial end. I understood what needed to be put together for a trust. I didn't intimidate me to go into their home, and most of them are elderly. They didn't even care that I would bring my daughter with me, a few months old even.
You needed that as a mother, and you didn't see that a lot back there in the 80s and 90s.
Exactly. Did not see that.
So you were a real working mother. You didn't stay home with your babies.
No, I never did.
Tell us a little bit more about how did you, I'm sure that alone was a challenge, being a working mother of young children. So tell us a little bit more. How did you keep your head above water? How did you stay balanced?
You just did it. That's I was always lucky that I had somebody that was nearby to take care of
neighbors.
Yeah, that big family of over 100.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Did they help?
No, not really. But my mother-in-law was always great. Well, she taught school the whole time. She was a teacher the whole time. And so she was always there after school with the kids if I needed somebody. Even to drop the kids off when the bus would drop them off at her house.
Yeah.
As well. So, I don't know. You just did it.
Yep.
you didn't have a choice. I think the biggest thing, one thing that I learned, another thing from Darwin, his comment to me one time was, and it wasn't to me, it was to somebody else. I overheard it. He just made the comment, once you walk out that door of your house and that door closes, everything in your life has to stay in that house.
Compartmentalizing. It's so important
Exactly.
in the business world. Absolutely.
When you come to work, you can't be bringing that in with you.
Correct.
And that, I'll never forget that either.
Well, the next thing, and I'm really excited, I really do want to hear about this because as you know, this is something that me and Bree and our next chapter of our life, we are embracing being businesswomen on our own, not working for another person. So I'm dying to know, how did Spin Market come about? How did Spin Market Digital come about? When did you decide to make that leap?
One of my last corporate job was with Frontier Communications, and I started out in sales. Kathy Bunyer was a fabulous individual that, again, she was difficult. I don't know why, but I seem to resonate well with difficult people.
But you like the challenge.
The challenge. She was difficult, but she and I got along great. I excelled at Frontier, both in the corporate world as well as in the sales. Won awards, and I think in 3 years in a row, I was one of 40 national employees.
Amazing.
That was honored, and then went in and moved up into the operation end, and then eventually into actual management of like about 500 square miles of Iowa. But Maggie Wilderotter was the CEO at Frontier. Maggie Wilderotter was known as, she is one of the 40 most influential women.
I love that.
Out. And her sister Denise is also was the CEO of Campbell Soup.
Oh, fun.
So,
that's a fun
yes.
little fact.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, on there they gave you the encouragement. Melinda White, also from Frontier, she was in the Western Division. She came over. She immigrated legally from South Korea.
Wow.
And I still remember at corporate meetings sitting and talking to her. She was a very accomplished pianist. And she said the one thing that she regrets is the fact that because she wasn't American, she was a American citizen, but because she was born in South Korea, she could never be president.
Wow.
And she says, it's very, and I'll never forget that, because that would have been one of her big accomplishments. And just because she hadn't been born in the United States, and I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but that's
just the fact.
It cut off her dream.
Yeah, it cut off her dream. Yeah. And so that, in a lot of ways, had a big impression to me.
Yeah.
Don't let something stand in your way if you want to do it.
Absolutely.
I love that. And that actually brings us to what we want you to kind of help share with our audience here is some of those mantras that you go by, some of those words of encouragement that you go by.
I always use the analogy that the worst they can tell you is no. If you walk into a situation and in your mind, the worst thing that can happen to me is no, well, then it's a win-win, isn't it?
Absolutely. It definitely helps you take those risks.
Yeah, on there, just ask the question. And that brings to another area. People do not ask enough questions. My kids, I still remember them when they're growing up going, Dad, Mom's asking too many questions, that type of thing all the time. If that's all they take away from this is, the worst they can tell you is no. And ask questions.
I love that. I love that you mentioned the asking questions, because I had a similar thought was, I feel like, my background's in education. I feel like in this day and age, we really need to start at a very young age teaching our kids to ask questions.
And not be afraid.
Yes. To self-advocate. I think if there's one skill that we can walk away with our youth, it's to self-advocate and ask those questions and to not be afraid. So I love your mantra of, you know what, the worst that's going to happen is that they're going to say no, because it has nothing to do with you as a person.
Can't take
You're
it personal.
asking a question And if it's no, then it's no, and you move on to something else. I love
And
it.
there's no stupid questions.
Absolutely.
Right? And as educators in the educational field, that's always what we're trying to say. There's no stupid question, and
Absolutely.
and ask it.
For sure. So when you're thinking about all of the things that you've accomplished, here's Big Market throughout your whole career, what are some things that you feel like you are most proud of in your life?
Well, the fact that I have succeeded, even when things have been tough
Yeah.
or
absolutely.
difficult, and have been able to come up with ways to
Pivot. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Pivot on there and not be afraid to pivot.
Mm-hmm.
So what does success mean to you? When you say you've succeeded, what does that mean?
I don't, years ago, I would probably have applied it to how much money I make. I don't anymore. I take it more to, okay, what did I do that made somebody more, that benefited somebody else or benefited a
Absolutely.
community? One thing that I always mention to businesses and say frequently is, as your business grows, so does your community. So it's important
Yes.
for you to grow because you are
That's so
making a
true.
big impact on your community
Absolutely.
on there, and understanding that. And sometimes things have to be done different, and you may not totally be compensated for something financially.
It's all about the integrity of the work
The
that you do.
integrity of it, and somewhere along the line, something usually benefits from it,
Yes.
some way, somehow. It may take a while.
Right.
It may, and when I say a while, it may be years before it
Yes.
actually.
I love that
resonates.
your idea of success has evolved over time.
Oh, very
too,
much so,
right?
yeah.
As
Yeah.
a young businesswoman, it was all about how much money can I make, it sounds like. You know,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
such a common thing. But now it's more about, what your legacy is, what you want to leave behind in the world too.
And not necessarily what you leave behind, but more of the impact.
Absolutely.
The impact that it
That's a great way
that
to say
it
it.
leaves, not necessarily on the other end.
What impact in your community here in Fort Dodge do you think that you're making today? I mean, you just came from the airport this morning, the Fort Dodge Airport.
Fort Dodge Airport and the new Denver flight that's going out. We did the videotaping for the Iowa Central Community College when they did their biofuel and put that out online
Yep.
because we have digital software and things that we can see out there. Saw that Boeing and United Airlines both were looking at that video.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is.
From
And
Fort Dodge, Iowa. And that is going to watching your rise. And then just from what you just said, you're probably contributing to other people's rise out there.
potentially, yes.
Yeah, potentially.
And the fact that majority of our employees here were Iowa Central Iowa Central students at one time, Central Community College. So again, those things mean more to me than,
The dollar.
the dollar.
Absolutely.
On it, but the dollar is important.
Well, we do.
We
need
live
the
in a world
dollars.
where that's what, unfortunately, what makes the world turn. But to be honest, that there is a positive to that, because without you having this business and things like that, your impact would not be as big,
potentially.
and you're out there making a community impact that's going to matter to you, and that's going to be your legacy, Cheryl.
And I think that's why I like the digital end of it, is because you have so much more. Well, just like this podcast, who knows where it's going to go?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
who knows who's going to listen to it, and who knows what young child might be listening to it and going, hey,
I'm feeling inspired.
yes.
Absolutely. I love
Or
that.
some business owner that maybe it was a bad day.
Right. And said, yep, I've had those moments that happened to me too. And that's how the world turns, is the
All about the
communication,
connection,
sharing our
absolutely.
love, asking questions, seeing where we can maybe
sharing our stories and sharing where
Yes.
things went
Tell
wrong,
your story.
and knowing that people aren't alone in their journeys. For
Yes.
sure. Absolutely.
Well, I love that. And thank you so much, Cheryl, for taking the time to sit with us today. This is our official first podcast.
I feel honored to be your.
You should. And we really appreciate having you here
Thank you.
in your own studio. We've been totally enjoying getting to know you and your team. And it's just been lovely and wonderful to hear how you have risen up from your youth to where you are today.
No,
So
thank you very much.
And the one thing I have to add, because we have been able to meet your wonderful team, and I do want to give a big shout out to them. And when we're talking about the Rise, it also is within these walls here. You're helping people like Mackenzie, Megan, Abby, Peter live their own dreams by creating such an organization. And I can only hope that that's something me and Bree are going to be able to do as we grow this venture.
Well, if this is any indication, you'll be fine.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Share Your Rise podcast.
We hope you're leaving inspired and empowered to share your own journey.
Until next time, keep rising, keep thriving, and remember, your story matters.
This podcast is produced by Elevado Worldwide. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this episode. Be sure to head to elevadoworldwide.com for more great content.